What's going on, swim fans? Welcome back to Whiteboard Wednesday. In today's video, I'm going to share with you how to improve your distance per stroke in swimming. I'm going to talk about what distance per stroke is, how you can calculate it, and most importantly, how you can improve it so that you can improve your swimming efficiency and swim faster and smarter than ever before. At the end of the video, I'm also going to share a workout and a few different drills so you can apply everything that we talk about. I guarantee you're going to learn something in this video, whether you're a beginner or an advanced swimmer. Let's go ahead and get right into the video. First of all, what is distance per stroke? We're going to abbreviate it as DPS. That's how we're going to refer to it in this video, and maybe you've seen some terminology out on the internet or maybe even on the pool deck of DPS, distance per stroke. And as it's explained, distance traveled per stroke. This can be done in meters, in feet. We're basically trying to understand how much distance are you going every time you have your arm pull through the water. This applies for all four competitive strokes: butterfly, backstroke, breaststroke, and freestyle. The difference is when you have butterfly and breaststroke are short axis strokes, what you're actually doing is you're moving both of your arms together, and as a result, your stroke cycles and your distance per stroke is going to what seem to be a little bit more efficient. So you're going to take less strokes per length when you do butterfly and breaststroke, and you're going to have more distance per stroke. Now, it's really a measure of efficiency, and that's why this is important. We're going to talk about the details of why DPS matters, but one thing that you should know, it's a great measure of efficiency. If you think about a car, we think in terms of miles per gallon or distance per charge. That's really showing us how efficient the vehicle is moving. And you want to think of your body as a vehicle moving through the water, and you want to make it as efficient as possible. So if you have a high DPS, it means you're more efficient than having a low DPS. A low distance per stroke means you're less efficient. And really the best way to measure this is by counting how many strokes you take. This is the best measurement tool. Of course, you can measure your actual distance per stroke, and maybe it's 2 meters, 3 meters, 4 meters. But it's a lot easier to think about this from the perspective of stroke count, especially because you can actually measure that while you're swimming. So here's why DPS matters. Because when you swim with a more efficient stroke, a higher DPS, what's really happening is you're going to swim faster, you're going to swim longer, so you're going to be able to swim faster for a longer period of time because your body's not using energy unnecessarily. That's the definition of efficiency. So you're moving through the water faster, you're going to swim longer, and because you're moving through the water with less effort, you're not trying as hard, it means your stroke is probably going to be more technically sound, and as a result, you're going to reduce your chances for injury. So that's why this really matters. It's really across 3 different levels. Not only can you swim faster, but you're going to swim longer, you're going to have better capacity because you're swimming with less effort, and on top of that, you're reducing your chances of injury because you're not applying as much force on your stroke unnecessarily. And so that's really, really important. So let's talk about how to find your distance per stroke. But first, I want to thank today's video sponsor, AeroFit. The AeroFit breathing trainer helps you improve your breath efficiency, anaerobic and aerobic threshold, and vital lung capacity. This can all give you the edge that you need to get faster in all 4 competitive strokes and even push your underwaters a little bit further off the wall. You start with a guided vital lung capacity test in the AeroFit Sport app, and then you'll begin a swim-specific training plan that takes just 5 to 10 minutes per day to complete. And after about 4 weeks of training with the AeroFit, I was able to increase my vital lung capacity by over 25%. The app is super easy to use, and it gives you real-time feedback. It feels like a video game, and you control the game using your own breath. So head over to the link down below in the description to get 15% off the AeroFit breathing trainer. And this discount is just for the MySwimPro community, and I know you guys are going to love it. Thanks again to AeroFit for sponsoring this video, and let's go ahead and get back in the pool. Now let's talk about how to find your distance per stroke. We already talked about the most simple way, which is where you count how many strokes you take per length. Now, it's really important to be aware of a few different things when you're counting your strokes. These are all variables that you need to be aware of. The first one is your distance off the wall. So you can very easily skew your distance per stroke by stroke count if you just push off the wall and dolphin kick further away from the wall before you even initiate the first stroke. So if you have a 25-meter pool and you take 15 strokes per length, but then you decide to push off in a really good streamline and you go really far underwater and you really float it out, you only take 12 strokes. Did you really improve your distance per stroke? If you just look at the math, yes, you did. But in fact, you did not, because if you use stroke count, that's not a great measure because you were pushing off the wall and you were traveling further underwater. So that's going to skew your number. So that's something to be aware of. Another thing to keep in mind is if you use equipment. So if you use equipment like fins or even paddles, you can dramatically change your distance per stroke, and you can also change the distance you push off the wall. So both of those can actually amplify each other. Imagine pushing off the wall with fins, you dolphin kick 10 meters underwater really fast, and then you're floating on top of the water the rest of the way. It's going to skew your distance per stroke and your stroke count number. The next thing is how tired you are. So if you count your strokes on the first 25 meters of your workout compared to the middle 25 in the middle of the workout when you're really tired, or at the end of the workout, and you should have a good feel of where that number is at each of those phases. You also want to keep in mind your effort level. This goes back to the time of the workout. So are you trying? Are you physically warmed up? How much effort are you actually applying at this point? And then of course, tempo, and that corresponds to your speed. So if you're swimming really, really fast, you can actually have a much higher stroke count, a shorter distance per stroke, but that doesn't mean you're necessarily moving more inefficiently, because if you're trying to swim fast, you're going to have to increase your tempo, you're going to take more strokes, your distance per stroke is going to shrink because you're not rotating as much. However, that might mean you are still efficiently moving through the water, but it's something to be aware of because your speed does directly impact your distance per stroke and your stroke count, which is how we're measuring it. Now, one more thing to get into the weeds here, into the numbers, is your SWOLF. Now, SWOLF is another measure of efficiency. If you guys haven't already checked out some of the content in Whiteboard Wednesdays that I've done on the SWOLF Score, make sure you check that out for a deep dive, pun intended. And this is really important because it's factoring in the stroke count and your lap split. So now we're thinking about speed. So this is actually the best measure of your efficiency relative to just looking at the stroke count. Because when we look at the stroke count, we know how many strokes you took per length, but it doesn't factor in how long it took you to get to the other end of the pool. And that's why the lap split is very important. Really quick reminder, the way this math works, you're going to take your SWOLF by adding your stroke count and your lap split, and that total time is your SWOLF score. Now, it's really important to remember that this lap split is based on a 25-meter time, 25-meter distance. So if you're in a 25-yard pool, you're going to have to normalize this, which you can do automatically in the MySwimPro app. So if you swim with the MySwimPro app, you're able to see all of your analytics. Your SWOLF score is automatically calculated for you. You don't have to do any of this math. It's right there in the app. It's beautiful, and you can see it progress through the course of the workout, and you can see how it goes up and goes down based on some of the variables that we've talked about. So you can calculate this on your own. If you're at the pool and you swim in a 25-meter pool, you take 20 strokes, 20 seconds to do it. Your SWOLF is a 40. And just like the game of golf, your goal is to get that number as low as you can. And so the lower you can get this number, the more efficiently you're moving through the water. An elite swimmer will be under 30. If you find yourself around 50, that's okay. Let's try and get down to 49, 48, 47. If your SWOLF score is over 60, it means you're not swimming very efficiently. You're either doing something funky with your stroke and you're just not moving through the water very efficiently, or you're taking way too many strokes and you're able to get across the pool in a relatively solid period of time. So maybe you're 30 seconds on the lap split, but then you're 35 on your stroke count. Both of those numbers can go down. An elite swimmer will be 12 strokes in 15 seconds. That'll put them at 27. So that's something to shoot for, but compare it to your own number. Now let's talk about how to improve your distance per stroke. And this is hopefully why you came to this video. This is where the magic happens. Here's a few things that you can think about. What I want you to do is to frame your mind and think about this from a logical perspective. How do you swim faster? There's only two ways to swim faster. Then we're going to use the distance per stroke and apply it to each of these. So there are two ways to swim faster. Number one, you can reduce your drag. Now that means you're going to improve your body position, the resistance of water. Remember, water is 800 times more dense than air. And so it is your goal when you swim to be more efficient through the water, not necessarily pull more water, but to move by creating less resistance. And if you can do that, you'll actually be able to improve your distance per stroke. One way that you can do that is by focusing on keeping your eyes down, and that'll lift your hips. Your hips are going to come up. But also, when you swim freestyle at least, is really focusing on driving to a streamlined position. You can do this in all the strokes, but in freestyle and backstroke, this is rotation. So you build rotational momentum, and by doing that, you're actually going to position your body in a more hydrodynamic way. This is just like how a boat moves through the water. A boat is riding high in the water, and you want to position your body to ride high in the water. By doing so, you're going to be more efficient because you're decreasing the number of strokes you take and increasing your distance per stroke. So after your fingertips enter the water, you're going to stretch and reach a few more centimeters before engaging your stroke. Now, the second way that you can swim faster is by increasing your propulsion. This literally means pulling more water. And when you pull more water and you have that early vertical forearm and you have a great catch and a great feel of the water, you're going to take less strokes, and therefore you're going to increase your distance per stroke. Now, a huge disclaimer that I didn't put on here, and I'm going to go ahead and do this live. We're going to put a big disclaimer, is that you can overdo this. I'm going to write this down. You can overdo this. What I mean by that is if you over-rotate and you over-exaggerate and you try and get your stroke count down way too much, what's going to happen is your lap split is going to go up. You're going to swim slower. And so it's a balancing act between your stroke count and how fast you're swimming and your tempo. So there's a nice fine line with the amount that you rotate in freestyle and backstroke, and even in breaststroke when you stretch out and you reach in streamline. This is probably the easiest way to improve your breaststroke efficiency, just by focusing on holding your streamline in the breaststroke stroke. Pull, kick, glide. So very, very important. Remember, if the stroke count is going to go up, your lap splits should go down, and then vice versa. If you get your stroke count down, well, then your lap split is going to go up. You're going to get slower. So it's a balancing act. Now, let's go ahead and apply this to a workout. I have a beautiful workout right here on the board. We're going to start with a 300 freestyle, get the body warmed up. Now, we're going to go 650s kick. We're going to kick them in streamline on our stomach. The reason why we want to kick streamline on our stomach is what we talked about here, reducing drag. We're trying to teach our body how to float really high in the water. And if we can apply that in kicking, we apply it to the stroke, and our body's going to be higher in the water. We're going to get more distance per stroke. After that, we're going to go 825s alternating fist drill. That means the first 25, you're in a fist. Work on that early vertical forearm. Second 25, you're going to have one finger. Third 25, two fingers. And then the next 25, you're going to have three fingers, and then you repeat that. Then you're going to go into the main set, my favorite. Oh boy. You're going to go 650s freestyle. You can do this any stroke actually, but we'll use freestyle for the example. You're going to negative split how many strokes you take. Now let me repeat that again and explain what we're talking about here. You're negative split your stroke count. So that means if you take 20 strokes on the first 25, I need you to take 19 on the second 25. So you're going to have stroke count minus 1 on that second 25. And this applies for any stroke. If you do breaststroke and you take 10 strokes on the way down, take 9 strokes on the way back. You can also apply this in long course. If you swim in a 50-meter pool, just be aware of the fact that you're going to have no pullout. Again, we talked about that on the first half. You're going to do 650s like that, then you're going to go 425s MDPS, and that's short for max distance per stroke. MDPS, really focusing on technique. You're going to go 3 rounds of that, and then 100 freestyle, silent swimming, perfect technique. This right here is about 2,000 meters, just over. It's a great way to incorporate what we just talked about. If you like this workout and you want more workouts just like this, make sure you check out the MySwimPro app, available for iPhone and Android. You can not only get your SWOLF calculated for you automatically if you have an Apple Watch or a Garmin. We show that right there in the app. But if you want to get started with a training plan and workouts just like this, make sure you check out the app. Finally, if you're not in our Facebook group, I want to see you guys in there. It is the biggest digital swimming community in the world. It's absolutely amazing. You can ask your questions in there, and you can get help from the pros just like myself in that Facebook group. So I want to see you guys in there. It's all linked down below. Thanks again for watching. Let me know what questions you have down below in the comments, and I'll see you guys at the next video. Happy swimming.